I was honestly going to wait until later on in this series to cover this topic, but seeing some interesting takes on Gracie's new album, I figure I'll do it now. I have to read directly off my script because I do not have this one memorized. I've mentioned several times that Gracie Abrams is a huge inspiration for me as a fellow songwriter, and I want to get a bit into the why. I discovered Gracie in 2022, but truly became a fan in 2023 after the release of her debut album, Good Riddance. I was impressed by the way she could evoke emotion even when I as a listener couldn't necessarily relate to all of the specific subject matters. But what really set her apart for me was her openness to writing and sharing songs where she was the bad guy or she and the other party both made errors. In a world of music that tends to assume the author is the victim, I found Gracie's writing to be refreshing. She wasn't celebrating being in the wrong, just being upfront and matter-of-fact about it. I can also say that Lizzie McAlpine does the same thing, which is why she is another one of my favorite artists. Good Riddance is one of my favorite albums because of how raw and honest it feels. I'll use that as a segue into the conversation surrounding her songwriting on her latest album, Daughter from Hell. Daughter from Hell is Good Riddance's refined older sister. I say refined because Gracie has expressed some regret over maybe being too forward in her previous work. She said in an interview that with her most recent album, she was careful not to disregard the feelings of her subjects, which I think is a noble idea for someone whose job is essentially to write about their life. I think despite being more vague in Daughter from Hell, she was still able to convey the emotions that she wanted to get across. Not every songwriter has the same philosophy of restraint as Gracie, and that does not make their writing better or worse than hers. One thing I love about the artists that I currently listen to is the variety that exists between each of their writing styles. You have the poetic diaristic writers like Olivia Rodrigo. You have the tongue-in-cheek writers like Sabrina Carpenter or Audrey Hobart. Then you have the existential writers like Lizzie McAlpine or Gracie Abrams. They all do what works for them. I've been writing songs since I was 8 years old, but I started taking my writership more seriously around 2021-2022. I have experimented with a bit of each of the aforementioned writing styles, but what feels the most like me is existentialism with occasional diaristic elements. When I'm asked how to write a song, I often struggle to find a one-size-fits-all response because the process may be different for each person. Personally, my best ideas come at the most random times, but when I'm giving advice to other people who want to get into songwriting, I usually say that if lyrics don't just come naturally to you, just write how you feel in prose, and then you can kind of spruce it up with a little more metaphors or poetic style with how you're writing it. And also, don't be afraid to borrow methods of artists that you like. You'll eventually find your own voice.